But is this the wave of the future? I mean, are more state governors, he mentions the Wisconsin governor, he mentions Ohio, Kasich, Michigan, New Mexico, and so on, saying, even talked about California. He said Jerry Brown, even for God's sake, Jerry Brown in California, is starting to make certain cuts because this is the new reality, he thinks.
As he was speaking, Governor Scott Walker, Republican of Wisconsin, was saying that he expects to get a vote passed very soon in the state legislature in Wisconsin that would vastly scale back and restrict the power of state municipal workers in the state of Wisconsin. It would really take an enormous amount of power off them. It's confrontational with the unions.
He's saying no collective bargaining for those unions because he says, I have nothing to negotiate. I can't bargain with you. I have no money. It doesn't matter whether you win the bargain or not. I have nothing to give you.
When this bill goes through in Wisconsin, the union will not be allowed to bargain on anything but wages. Pensions, benefits, forget it. You can't bargain on it. All of them.
And he says you're going to have to start contributing to your pension and you're going to have to start contributing to your health care, just like folks in the private sector have.
And here's one more, which could lead to the extinction of unions in Wisconsin. Every single worker in a union, in a state worker union in Wisconsin, will have to vote every year on whether they want to continue being in the union.
Yeah, the unions hate that. They want to make it as easy as possible to stay in the union.
Big demonstrations, yes.
But it's just so interesting. It's just a microcosm of what we're seeing on a national level now in terms of states that are in the red and a federal government that happily for most Americans is not in the mood to bail them out again. And governors left asking themselves, now what are we going to do? Are we going to jack up taxes even higher on our constituents, or are we going to make some real cuts and force somebody other than ma and pa taxpayer to be unhappy?
And the Christie Scott Walker way of doing it seems to be the winning way and the way which a lot of states are going to follow.
It's fascinating to hear. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
Again, public employees from throughout the state have been marching around the Capitol. Their message has not changed. They do not want this bill to pass. Now, what has been a little bit different today is we've been seeing a lot more kids out here that are here with their parents and a lot of teachers from Madison. So many teachers from Madison called in sick today that classes were actually canceled. Now, teachers say what they're doing today, this reinforces what they are teaching students about being involved in democracy.
What happens if this passes and we want to protest another law? Then we won't be missing a day's pay. We'll be fired. So to me, this is an attack on my, civil and democratic liberties.
The governor said that he did expect certain groups to be pumped up about all of this and that he was really trying not to get in the middle of any of these protests, whether they be here or when he made some travels across the state yesterday, specifically because he said he does not want to provoke anyone who might be against this bill and disagrees with him. But Walker reiterated numerous times that he believes people should have a say in the bill, but he also wants people to have a say who couldn't or didn't take off work today to come down here and come to the Capitol in March.
The bottom line is that's a fraction of the 300 or so thousand state and local government employees we have, the good professionals who work at the state and local level. And obviously that's a much smaller fraction of the 5.5 million people who live and work here in the state of Wisconsin.
Now, as far as the bill itself goes, Walker says his staff monitored the Joint Finance Committee testimony throughout the day yesterday, and while he believes that he does have the votes in both houses to pass the bill as is, he wants to make sure that they did listen to some of the people who came yesterday and said he was open to amendments that would not fundamentally undermine the bill.
Are you Republicans first, or are you Wisconsinites first?
Faces of exasperation and exhaustion told the story as public comment on Governor Walker's budget repair bill stretched into the 16th hour.
My girlfriend is a social worker with the county. She couldn't come tonight because she had to go on an emergency case. This happens regularly.
But as the clock struck 3, the Republican-controlled Joint Finance Committee wrapped up the hearing with dozens still waiting to speak.
The testimony we're hearing, while it's good and compelling personal stories, we're not necessarily plowing a whole lot of new ground. People are talking about some of the issues that we have already heard before.
While conservatives call it quits, Democrats say this moment is the start of something new.
And for those who were discouraged and felt great defeat after November 3rd and felt as though we are down and out at 3 o'clock in the morning after a day-long hearing, this is the rebirth of the progressive movement in Wisconsin.
A movement which may not include collective bargaining, as most working Wisconsinites have known it before. Yet some lawmakers say there is no other option.
We still have a $3 billion deficit. So the only way we're going to be able to solve it is to get management flexibility so you're able to actually reduce costs. That has not happened under the negotiating system that we have had.